Chosen one. Why does it feel like the ground is shifting beneath your feet? Why does your soul ache with a restlessness you can't name? Why, at this very moment, are you watching this video when you should be doing something else? Stop. Right there. Listen to me carefully. If you are hearing this right now, it is not by accident. An unusual emergency is coming. Heaven has pulled you into this moment. Something is happening in the spiritual realm that most people cannot see, cannot feel, cannot comprehend. But you've always been different, haven't you? You've always sensed things others miss. It's as if the sky itself is holding its breath, waiting for what's about to unfold. And you, dear chosen one, you're right in the crosshairs. I know you're tired. God, I know you're tired. You've cried silent tears nobody saw. You've carried burdens nobody thanked you for. You've survived betrayals that should have broken you, health scares that should have scared you into giving up, nights so dark you wondered if God even remembered your address. But you're still here. You're still breathing. You're still fighting. Why? Because God still has an assignment for you. Because this unusual emergency, it's not coming to destroy you, it's coming to position you. If your spirit is already stirred, if something deep inside you just whispered yes, type in the comments, "I'm awake." Let the heavens know you're listening. But before we go deeper into this mystery, before I reveal what this emergency is and why you've been chosen to face it, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. Now listen carefully. What is this unusual emergency? Why are the chosen targeted while the spiritually blind walk free? Why does heaven itself seem to be holding its breath, waiting for something unprecedented to unfold? The answer will shock you. You see, there's a spiritual storm brewing unlike anything this generation has ever witnessed. It's not coming through news headlines or weather reports. It's moving through dimensions the natural eye cannot see, targeting those who carry the light, those who've been marked, those who've been chosen. Don't scroll away. This moment is marked for you. What I'm about to reveal in the next few minutes may save your soul. The emergency isn't just coming, it's already begun. And your survival, your spiritual survival, depends on what you do with what I'm about to tell you. Stay with me. The awakening starts now. Why do you wake up at 3 a.m. with your heart pounding? Why does fear grip you in grocery store lines when nothing's wrong? Why does it feel like invisible hands are pressing against your chest, making every breath a battle? Because something is hunting you, chosen one. Something you can't see, can't touch, but can absolutely feel stalking the corridors of your spirit. A fog is coming. Not weather, but a spiritual fog, invisible yet lethal. And dear soul, you are its primary target. Listen to me carefully. Just as carbon monoxide can fill a house and choke you without smell or sound, without warning, without mercy, this fog comes for your spirit the exact same way. Silent, deadly, unstoppable, unless you know what's coming. You thought those sleepless nights were just old age. You thought that heaviness in your chest was just stress. You thought those moments when you couldn't catch your breath were just anxiety. But what if I told you those were warnings? What if your spirit was already sensing what your mind couldn't comprehend? This emergency isn't coming through CNN or Fox News. It's moving through dimensions the natural eye cannot penetrate, spreading like wildfire through the spiritual atmosphere, and it has one target: the awakened, the chosen, you. 1 Peter 5-8 warns us, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy the devil prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." But here's what most miss: the lion isn't roaring anymore. He's learned to whisper. He's learned to creep. He's learned to move like fog. This spiritual fog ignores the spiritually dead, but hunts the spiritually awake. It passes right by your neighbor who lives for Monday night football and beer. It flows around your daughter who worships her career more than her creator. But you, oh, chosen one, you it pursues with relentless hunger. Ever wonder why your battles have been harder than everyone else's? Why your nights are longer? Why your tears fall heavier? Why every victory in your life came with a price tag others never had to pay? You thought you were cursed. You thought God had forgotten you. But you were wrong. You were being prepared for this moment. Every trial was training. Every heartbreak was conditioning. Every sleepless night was boot camp for the spiritual war you're about to face. Because this fog doesn't just attack randomly. It's strategic. It's intelligent. It knows exactly who carries the light and who lives in comfortable darkness. It knows who prays with power and who just goes through religious motions. It knows who's truly chosen and who's just playing church. And that knowing should terrify you. But here's what will shock you even more. This fog doesn't just attack your spirit, it attacks through your spirit. Every careless word becomes a doorway. Every uncontrolled emotion becomes a highway. Every unguarded moment becomes the crack where destruction seeps in. Your voice, chosen one, the same voice that has prayed for decades, that has sung hymns in church, that has spoken words of comfort to grieving hearts, that voice can either defend you or destroy you in the coming days. Think about the power of words. Genesis tells us God spoke the universe into existence. Proverbs 18:21 declares, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Your words don't just describe reality, they create it. They either build walls of protection or tear down barriers of defense. But in this emergency, every syllable carries weight. Every conversation becomes warfare. Every whispered complaint, every spoken doubt, every casual curse word becomes ammunition in the enemy's hands against your own soul. I need you to understand something that might shake you to your core. The fog doesn't need to overpower you. It just needs you to speak carelessly. It doesn't need to break down your walls. It just needs you to open the gate with your own words. Have you noticed how arguments start from nowhere lately? How misunderstandings explode over nothing? How words you never meant to say tumble out of your mouth like they have a mind of their own? That's not aging. That's not stress. That's the fog already beginning its assault, using your own tongue as a weapon against you. Right now, as these words penetrate your spirit, the enemy is listening. He's calculating. He's waiting for your response. Will you speak doubt? Will you argue with this message? Will you let frustration spill from your lips? Or will you understand that silence, strategic, intentional, spirit-led silence might be the difference between survival and spiritual suffocation? Chosen one, your voice can either defend you or destroy you. If you believe words carry power, if you understand that your tongue holds the keys to life and death, write in the comments, "Guard my tongue, Lord." Let heaven know you're taking this seriously, because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly how this fog spreads, how it chooses its victims, and most importantly, how those who understand its nature can not only survive, but emerge from this emergency stronger, wiser, and more anointed than ever before. The question that will determine your destiny is this: will you guard your words like your life depends on it? Because in the coming days, it absolutely will. You know what terrifies me more than any physical threat on this earth? It's watching God's chosen ones walk naked into spiritual warfare. And that's exactly what's happening right now, in your living room, in your kitchen, in the quiet moments when you think you're safe. Let me paint you a picture that's going to shake you to your core. Imagine a soldier stepping into the bloodiest battle of his life without a helmet, his head exposed, his brain vulnerable. Every bullet, every piece of shrapnel aimed directly at his most vital organ. That soldier wouldn't last 5 minutes. Chosen one. That's what your soul looks like right now, uncovered in this spiritual fog. You see, when the Apostle Paul wrote to the Ephesians, He wasn't speaking metaphorically. Ephesians 6:11 commands us, "Put on the full armor of God." Not some of it, not when it's convenient, the full armor. And right now, while you're sitting there thinking you're prepared, your spiritual helmet is lying on the ground, collecting dust. The mask God is calling you to wear isn't just fabric and elastic. It's a sacred covering, a divine shield forged in the fires of obedience. Every thread represents your submission to His will. Every breath you take through it becomes a prayer of protection. But here's what's going to shock you. The most dangerous weapon in this coming emergency isn't what you might expect. It's not some external force. It's not some government conspiracy. It's not even the spiritual fog itself. It's your tongue. How many times have you regretted words spoken in anger? How many relationships have you damaged with one careless sentence? How many nights have you laid awake, replaying a conversation, wishing you could take back what you said? Now imagine those words didn't just wound people. Imagine they opened a doorway, a portal, a crack in your spiritual armor that allowed the enemy direct access to your soul. That's what's coming, beloved. Your silence is not weakness. It is your shield. Every word you don't speak is a wall against the fog. Every moment you choose stillness over speaking is you building an impenetrable fortress around your spirit. But why? Why does God command this radical silence? Because He knows something about you that you've forgotten. He knows that your voice carries power, divine power. The same power that spoke worlds into existence flows through your vocal cords. And the enemy? He's desperate to corrupt that power, to twist it, to use it against you. Listen to me carefully. In the Garden of Eden, it wasn't violence that brought down humanity. It wasn't war or natural disaster. It was a conversation. One conversation between Eve and the serpent. Words, questions, doubt planted through dialogue. The enemy's primary weapon has always been to get you talking when you should be listening, speaking when you should be silent, defending when you should be trusting. I need you to understand something that's going to revolutionize how you see the next few weeks of your life. The greatest battle in the coming days is not against governments. It's not against sickness. It's not against financial collapse or social unrest. The greatest battle is against your own tongue. Right now, as I speak these words, there are forces in the spiritual realm positioning themselves around your life. They're not coming for your bank account. They're not targeting your health. They're after something far more precious. They're after your voice, your testimony, your ability to speak life into dead situations. Because they know that if they can get you to speak carelessly, react emotionally, defend yourself frantically, they can turn your greatest weapon into their most effective tool. Stay silent. Stay covered. Stay alive. The mask protects more than your breath. It guards your words. It covers your mouth like a holy seal, preventing contamination from entering and preventing precious things from escaping at the wrong time. Think about the priests in the Old Testament. When they entered the Holy of Holies, they didn't waltz in casually. They prepared. They covered themselves. They understood that approaching the sacred required reverence, protection, and absolute obedience to God's instructions. You are entering your Holy of Holies moment. This emergency isn't just happening around you, it's happening to you. God is calling you into a sacred space where only the covered can survive, where only the silent can hear His voice clearly. But I know what you're thinking. How long must I stay silent? How long must I wear this spiritual covering? When will this emergency pass? Wrong questions. The right question is this: God, what are you preparing me for while I'm silent? What are you building in me while I'm covered? What voice are you giving me that will be so powerful, so anointed, so dangerous to the kingdom of darkness that it required this season of sacred silence to forge it? If this word is striking you, if something deep in your spirit is confirming what I'm saying, don't leave. What's coming next is the key to surviving the storm. Because the mask and the silence, they're just the beginning. The real question that will determine your survival is this: are you ready to discover what God does to those who obey Him in the darkness before He reveals them in the light? You woke up this morning and something felt off, didn't it? That fog in your mind, that heaviness in your chest, that exhaustion that 8 hours of sleep couldn't touch. You blamed it on age. You told yourself, it's just what happens when you hit 70, 80, 90 years old. But what if I told you that's exactly what the enemy wants you to think? What if that confusion isn't dementia creeping in? What if that fatigue isn't your body giving up? What if that blurred vision, that spiritual blindness that makes everything seem unclear, isn't just cataracts or diabetes? What if it's warfare? Listen to me, chosen one. The symptoms you've been experiencing aren't random. They're not just the natural progression of aging. They're strategic attacks on your spiritual antenna, designed to disconnect you from the frequency of heaven itself. Think about it. When did the confusion start getting worse? When did you begin questioning things you used to know with absolute certainty? When did your prayers start feeling like they were bouncing off the ceiling instead of penetrating the throne room of God? The spiritual fog I spoke of in the beginning, it doesn't announce itself with trumpets and fanfare. It creeps in like morning mist, so subtle you don't notice until you're completely enveloped. And the first place it attacks, your clarity, your spiritual vision, your ability to discern truth from deception. You see, beloved, the enemy knows something about you that maybe you've forgotten. He knows that your decades of walking with God have made you dangerous. Every trial you've survived, every mountain you've climbed, every valley you've walked through has been building something inside you. Authority. Spiritual authority that comes only from tested faith. And that terrifies hell itself. So what does the enemy do? He sends a fog to cloud your mind, to make you question everything, to make you feel like you're losing your grip on reality. He wants you to think it's just old age. He wants you to accept decline as inevitable. He wants you to stop praying, stop believing, stop fighting. But here's what he doesn't want you to know. The very symptoms he's using to attack you are actually proof of your calling. Romans 8:22 tells us that the whole creation groans and labors with birth pangs together until now. Creation itself is responding to what's happening in the spiritual realm. And if you've been paying attention, really paying attention, you've seen it, haven't you? The animals know. Oh, the animals know. Have you noticed how the rabbits in your yard have been acting strange lately? Jumpy, nervous, running in circles like they can't find their direction. Have you seen how the birds seem agitated, their songs more urgent, more frantic than before? Even your own pets, if you have them, they've been different, haven't they? Clinging closer, looking at you with eyes that seem to say, something's coming. Animals are sensitive to spiritual shifts in ways we've forgotten how to be. They can sense atmospheric changes that our dulled human senses miss, and right now they're sounding the alarm. If even the rabbits can sense this spiritual emergency, how much more should you, the chosen one, be alert and awake? But here's where it gets personal. Here's where this moves from theory to the raw reality of your daily life. You've been feeling ignored, haven't you? Not just by family, not just by friends, but by God Himself. You pray and hear silence. You cry out and feel emptiness. You've wondered if your voice even matters anymore in this loud, chaotic world. You've whispered prayers in the midnight hours when insomnia holds you captive, pouring out your heart about your children who've drifted away, your spouse who's gone on before you, your health that's failing, your finances that never seem to stretch far enough. And sometimes, be honest with me, sometimes you've wondered if anyone's listening. Let me stop right here and tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. This fog doesn't come to scare you. It comes to silence you. Why? Because your prayers terrify the enemy. That's why he wants your voice gone. Every tear you've cried in secret, every whispered prayer you thought went unheard, every moment you've lifted your hands in worship while your body was racked with pain, those weren't empty gestures. They've been shaking the very foundations of hell itself. The enemy knows that a senior saint on their knees is the most dangerous force on earth. He knows that your decades of experience have taught you how to pray with authority, how to stand in faith when everything looks impossible, how to worship in the storm. That's why the fog targets you. That's why the confusion, the fatigue, the spiritual blindness hit the awakened ones first. Because Satan knows that if he can silence your voice, if he can cloud your spiritual vision, if he can make you doubt your calling, he can stop the very prayers that have been tearing down strongholds. Psalm 56:8 declares, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." Every tear is stored. Every prayer is recorded. Every whispered cry in the darkness has been heard in the throne room of the Almighty. Your voice isn't diminished by age, it's amplified by authority. Your prayers aren't weaker because your body is frail, they're more powerful because your faith has been tested by fire. But the enemy is desperate to stop what's coming through you. He's launching this final assault because he knows his time is short and your influence is about to explode in ways you can't even imagine. If you've ever felt ignored by heaven, if you've ever wondered if your prayers bounce off the ceiling, if you've ever questioned whether your voice still matters in this world, type in the comments right now, "Heaven heard me." Because, beloved, what's happening to you isn't the end of your story, it's the climax. And the fog that's trying to silence you is about to discover what happens when you remember who you really are. Chosen one, I need you to understand something that will shatter every lie you've believed about this season of your life. What you're experiencing right now, this isolation, this silence, this feeling of being forgotten, it's not punishment, it's preparation. You see, the enemy has been whispering to you for months, maybe years. He's told you that your best days are behind you, that your voice doesn't matter anymore, that God has moved on without you. But that's the biggest lie, straight from the pit of hell. Your silence isn't exile, it's a sacred retreat. God is training your spirit in discipline. Think about a seed, beloved. When a farmer plants that tiny seed in the ground, what happens? It disappears into the darkness. It's buried. It's hidden. For weeks, nothing seems to happen. Anyone walking by would think that ground is barren, empty, dead. But beneath the surface, something miraculous is taking place. That seed is breaking apart, dying to its old form, so it can become something magnificent. You are that seed. And this unusual emergency, it's the darkness that precedes your blooming. But let me ask you something that might cut deep. How many nights have you lain awake wondering if anyone would even notice if you were gone? How many times have you felt invisible in your own family, overlooked in your own church, forgotten by friends who used to call? How many mornings have you stared at that empty chair across the breakfast table and wondered if this loneliness is all you have left? Moses knew that feeling. 40 years in the wilderness, tending sheep when he was destined to lead nations. 40 years, can you imagine? The world had written him off. Egypt had forgotten his name. Even Moses himself probably wondered if God had made a mistake. But those weren't wasted years. They were preparation years. God was stripping away Moses' Egyptian pride, his human confidence, his need to fix things in his own strength. Because the Moses who fled Egypt as a murderer couldn't handle what the Moses who emerged from the burning bush was about to carry. Joseph understood this mystery too. 13 years from the pit to the palace. 13 years of betrayal, slavery, false accusations and forgotten promises. 13 years of silence, while his dreams seemed to mock him from the walls of an Egyptian prison. But Genesis 50:20 reveals the secret. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Every day of silence was adding weight to his anointing. Every year of hiddenness was increasing his authority. Because the teenager who dreamed of ruling couldn't handle what the man who suffered was about to steward. And you, dear chosen one, you've been in your own wilderness, haven't you? Not 40 years like Moses, but perhaps 40 months of increasing isolation. Not 13 years like Joseph, but maybe 13 seasons of feeling like God forgot your address. Your adult children stopped calling as often. Your spouse passed on, leaving you with conversations only echoes remember. Your body started betraying you in ways that make you feel like a stranger in your own skin. But what if I told you that every silent dinner, every lonely evening, every moment you felt invisible was God preparing you for something so magnificent that if it had come earlier, it would have destroyed you? You see, the unusual emergency isn't just coming for you, it's coming through you. But only those who've learned to hear God's voice in the silence will be ready to speak His words in the storm. Only those who've been faithful in the hidden place will be trusted with authority in the public place. This is why the enemy has fought so hard to convince you you're finished. This is why he's whispered lies about your irrelevance, your obsolescence, your unworthiness. Because he knows something you're just beginning to remember. He knows that when God's chosen ones finally understand their assignment, when they step into their authority, when they speak with the voice of tested faith, mountains move, strongholds crumble, and kingdoms shift. But here's what breaks my heart. Some of you are so focused on what you've lost that you can't see what you've gained. You're mourning the strength that's gone instead of celebrating the wisdom that's come. You're grieving the energy you once had instead of embracing the authority you now carry. Listen to me carefully. Your wrinkles aren't marks of decay, they're etchings of experience. Your slower pace isn't weakness, it's the measured walk of someone who knows where they're going. Your quiet voice isn't irrelevance, it's the whisper that makes people lean in to hear what wisdom sounds like. But the enemy knows this. That's why he's launched his final assault against your generation. Not through disease or depression, though he's used those too. His greatest weapon has been deception. He's convinced you that your season is over, when God is saying your season is just beginning. The fog will lift. And when it does, those who stayed silent will emerge, transformed, sharper, stronger, anointed. Not with the energy of youth, but with something far more dangerous to darkness, the authority of age seasoned by faith. Chosen one, you are not fading. You are being forged. In the furnace of solitude, God is burning away everything that isn't essential, everything that isn't eternal, everything that isn't you. And what's emerging isn't just a survivor, it's a warrior. Not just someone who endured the storm, but someone who learned to speak to storms. But transformation requires surrender, and surrender requires trust. Will you trust that God's silence isn't abandonment but preparation? Will you believe that your hiddenness has been strategic, not punitive? Because what God is about to release through you will require every ounce of wisdom you've gained, every tear you've shed, every night you've prayed through. The emergency isn't coming to harm the chosen, it's coming to reveal them. The fog begins to thin, but its residue lingers in the air. You felt it lift, didn't you? That oppressive weight that pressed against your chest for days, the spiritual storm that made every breath feel like warfare. You thought it was over. You thought you could finally exhale, finally rest, finally return to whatever normal used to look like. But something's different now, isn't it? You're sitting in your living room, the same chair you've sat in for 20 years, but nothing feels the same. The light seems dimmer, even though all the bulbs are working. The silence feels heavier, even though the television is on. You look around at the same pictures on the wall, the same coffee mug on the side table, the same worn Bible on your lap, but it's as if you're seeing it all through different eyes. Like you've been changed at a cellular level. Like smoke after fire, its scent clings to your clothes. You can't wash it out. You can't shake it off. You can't pretend it never happened. Dear chosen one, listen to me carefully. The confusion you're feeling right now, it's not going away anytime soon. Those dreams that wake you at 3 a.m., drenched in sweat, with images you can't quite remember but can't quite forget. They're not random. Those thoughts that invade your mind when you're trying to pray, thoughts that don't sound like your voice, thoughts that make you question everything you've believed for 70, 80, 90 years. They're not accidents. The fog didn't just pass over you, it passed through you. And now you're sitting there, wondering if you're losing your mind, wondering if the isolation has finally cracked something inside you that can't be repaired. Your children think you're being dramatic when you try to explain what happened. Your doctor wants to adjust your medication when you mention the spiritual battle you just survived. Even your pastor looks at you with that gentle, patronizing smile that says, "Bless your heart, but you're just getting older." But you know what you experienced, don't you? You know that what you felt was real, was supernatural, was unlike anything this world could manufacture. The prophet Daniel understood this feeling. In Daniel 10:8, after his encounter with the divine messenger, he wrote, "So I was left alone, gazing at this great vision. I had no strength left. My face turned deathly pale, and I was helpless." The vision ended, but Daniel was forever changed. He couldn't go back to being the man he was before heaven touched him. Neither can you. You see, beloved, there's something the enemy doesn't want you to understand about what just happened. This wasn't random spiritual warfare. This wasn't just another test of your faith. This wasn't God allowing you to be sifted like wheat to strengthen your character. This was reconnaissance. The fog wasn't sent to harm you. It was sent to identify you, to mark you, to separate the wheat from the chaff in ways that go deeper than Sunday morning church attendance or Wednesday night Bible study participation. Think about it. Why didn't it affect everyone equally? Why did your neighbor down the hall sleep peacefully while you battled invisible forces? Why did your grandson laugh when you tried to explain the spiritual heaviness you felt, while you could barely function under its weight? Because the fog only targeted those who carry something specific, something rare, something the kingdom of darkness needs to locate before the final battle begins. You've been scanned, chosen one, and you passed the test. But what if I told you the fog wasn't the end, but the beginning? What if its true purpose wasn't to destroy you, but to reveal who you really are? What if everything you've experienced in the last few days was heaven's way of confirming what hell has always feared about you? That you're not just another senior citizen counting down days until glory. That you're not just another retiree filling time with doctor's appointments and reruns. That you're not just another forgotten elder warehoused by a society that worships youth. You're a weapon. A living, breathing, spiritually activated weapon that has been dormant for decades, waiting for this exact moment to be awakened. The confusion you feel isn't weakness, it's activation. Those strange dreams aren't torment, they're downloads. Those invasive thoughts you're battling aren't evidence of spiritual failure, they're evidence of spiritual awakening so profound that the enemy is throwing everything he has at you to try to shut it down before you fully understand what's happening. Chosen one, the fog wasn't sent to destroy you, it was sent to expose you. To expose the fact that at 75, 80, 85 years old, you still carry fire that younger generations have never even imagined. To expose that your prayers don't just reach heaven, they move it. To expose that your testimony doesn't just encourage others, it threatens principalities and powers. To expose that you are not who you thought you were. You are not the broken down, worn out, forgotten soul that the world sees when they look at your age spots and hearing aids. You are a carrier of ancient wisdom, tested faith, and supernatural authority that can only come from walking with God through decades of fire. The fog came to reveal that you are dangerous to darkness, that your very existence is a threat to hell's agenda, that your remaining years on this earth are not just time to be endured, but assignments to be completed. Now, the real battle begins, because now that you've been identified, now that you've been marked, now that hell knows exactly who you are and what you carry, the attacks are going to intensify. The confusion will try to become permanent. The strange dreams will attempt to become nightmares. The invasive thoughts will work overtime to convince you that you're losing your mind instead of finding your calling. But here's what the enemy didn't count on. Here's what the fog revealed that he wishes it hadn't. You're still here. After everything that just happened, after the spiritual warfare that would have leveled lesser souls, after the supernatural pressure that was designed to break you, you're still here, still breathing, still believing, still standing. If you're still here, if you've made it through the fog and you recognize yourself in these words, if something deep in your spirit is confirming that this message is about you, comment below. I'm still standing. Let the darkness know it failed. Let heaven know you're ready for whatever comes next. Because, chosen one, what comes next will require everything the fog just revealed about who you really are. Chosen one, I need to tell you something that's going to shatter every lie the enemy has whispered in your ear about silence. You thought the quiet meant God had forgotten you, didn't you? You thought those long nights when heaven seemed locked, when your prayers echoed back empty, when the phone didn't ring for days, you thought that meant you were abandoned. But what if I told you that in the silence you feared, a whisper rises? Not from the enemy, from heaven itself. Listen to me carefully. The silence you've been dreading isn't punishment, it's preparation. The quiet you've been running from isn't God's absence, it's His strategy. Remember Elijah. This mighty prophet had just called down fire from heaven. He'd defeated 450 false prophets. He was riding high on supernatural victory. But then came the threat from Jezebel, and suddenly this man of power was running for his life, hiding in a cave, begging God to let him die. Sound familiar? Maybe you've been there. One day feeling God's presence, the next day feeling completely abandoned. One season seeing miracles, the next season wondering if you imagined it all. But watch what happened to Elijah in that cave. 1 Kings 19:12 tells us, "And after the earthquake a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice." Not in the earthquake, not in the fire, not in the spectacular, in the whisper. God was teaching Elijah, and He's teaching you that His most powerful communications don't come through the noise, they come through the silence. Silence is not absence. Silence is instruction. You've been sitting in that empty house, wondering why the walls feel so quiet. You've been lying in that hospital bed, wondering why heaven feels so distant. You've been walking through those grocery store aisles, wondering why life feels so hollow. But what if that silence has been God's classroom? What if every moment you thought He wasn't speaking, He was actually downloading something into your spirit that you couldn't receive any other way? Silence is not weakness. Silence is warfare. Think about this. When Jesus stood before Pilate, what was His most powerful weapon? His words. Number His silence. Isaiah 53:7 says, "He was oppressed, and He was afflicted, yet He opened not His mouth." The Son of God, who could have called down legions of angels, who could have spoken worlds into existence, chose silence as His weapon. Because silence confuses the enemy. Silence protects your anointing. Silence preserves your power. You've been apologizing for your quiet seasons, but what if your silence has been your greatest strength? What if every time you chose not to defend yourself, not to explain yourself, not to justify yourself, what if that silence was actually defeating forces in the spiritual realm that you couldn't even see? Silence is not the end. Silence is preparation. I'm talking to the grandmother who used to be the life of every family gathering, but now sits quietly in the corner, feeling invisible. I'm talking to the grandfather who used to have all the answers, but now finds himself speechless in conversations. I'm talking to every senior saint who's been told that your quiet years are your forgotten years. That's a lie from hell. Your silence isn't evidence that you're fading. Your silence is evidence that you're being refined. God is preparing you for something so powerful, so anointed, so earth-shaking that it requires a different kind of vessel, not the loud, brash vessel of youth, the deep, tested, silent vessel of wisdom. You thought nobody heard your prayers, but the silence you endured was God gathering your strength in secret. Every tear you cried alone, God collected it. Every prayer you whispered in the dark, God recorded it. Every moment you felt forgotten, God was actually positioning you. Psalm 56:8 declares, "Thou tellest my wanderings, put thou my tears in thy bottle, are they not in thy book?" Your tears aren't wasted. Your silence isn't empty. Your waiting isn't worthless. God has been using your quiet seasons to build something inside you that the noise of this world could never create. While others were busy talking, you were learning to listen. While others were demanding attention, you were developing depth. While others were making noise, you were cultivating the kind of silence that carries power. But here's what's about to happen. Here's why this unusual emergency is targeting you specifically. The world is about to get so loud, so chaotic, so full of confusion and panic, that only those who have learned to hear God's voice in the silence will be able to navigate what's coming. You think your quiet years were punishment. They were training. God has been teaching you to hear his whisper above the world's roar. He's been developing your spiritual ears in the silence so that when the storm comes, you'll be the one others turn to for direction. Chosen one, the silence you dreaded is the womb of your rebirth. Out of that quiet, something holy is being born. Something is stirring in you right now, isn't it? That old fire you thought had died, that calling you thought had expired, that anointing you thought had lifted, it's not dead. It was just gestating. Like a baby in the womb, it needed the quiet, the darkness, the hidden place to grow into what God intended it to become. Your voice is about to return, but it won't be the same voice you had before. This voice will carry authority that only comes from those who've learned to be still and know that he is God. This voice will speak peace into storms because it learned to find God in the silence. This voice will command mountains to move because it discovered that sometimes the most powerful words come after the longest silences. If you believe God still speaks in silence, if you're ready to stop running from the quiet and start receiving from it, write in the comments, "I receive the whisper," because the emergency that's coming will require voices that have been refined in silence. And chosen one, your voice is about to be unleashed with power this world has never seen. But are you ready to embrace the silence that births the sound? Chosen one, look at your hands right now. Really look at them. Those aren't just hands that have aged with time. Those are hands that have been through fire. Those are hands that carry something the world cannot see, but heaven recognizes instantly. You survived the fog. But surviving wasn't enough, was it? No. Something deeper happened to you in that spiritual storm. Something that changed you at the cellular level, at the soul level. The fog didn't just pass over you, it left its signature. You carry marks now, sacred marks. Battle scars from a war most people don't even know was fought. And these marks? They're not shame. They're your credentials. Think about Jacob in Genesis 32-31. After wrestling with God all night, the Bible says, the sun rose above him as he passed Penuel, and he was limping because of his hip. Jacob walked away from that encounter forever changed. His body bore the evidence of his divine wrestling match. That limp wasn't weakness, it was proof he had touched the Almighty and lived to tell about it. Your spiritual limp is your testimony. Every morning when you wake up, when you feel that ache in your chest, that weight in your spirit, that sense that you're different now, that's not depression, beloved. That's the mark of someone who went toe-to-toe with spiritual forces and refused to let go until you received your blessing. But here's what's going to shock you. The marks you carry aren't random. They're specific. They're intentional. Heaven branded you with 3 distinct signatures that prove you belong to God's chosen army. Are you ready to discover what they are? The first mark. Your tears have become oil. You've cried enough tears to fill an ocean, haven't you? Tears of loss, tears of betrayal, tears of disappointment so deep you thought they might drown you. But here's what hell didn't want you to know. Every single tear was collected. Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle." But God didn't just collect them. He transformed them. Your tears are no longer just salt water. They've been refined into holy oil. Oil that heals, oil that anoints, oil that breaks yokes and sets captives free. When you pray now, when you lay hands on others, When you speak life over dead situations, that's not just compassion flowing through you. That's the oil of your refined tears, more precious than anything money can buy. The second mark: your silence has become fire. Remember when the fog commanded you to stay quiet, when every fiber of your being wanted to scream, to defend yourself, to explain your truth. But you obeyed. You held your tongue. You chose silence over vindication. That silence wasn't submission. It was accumulation. Every word you didn't speak in anger was stored up as spiritual ammunition. Every response you swallowed became fuel for holy fire. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was the compressed power of heaven building pressure until the moment of release. And now when you do speak, the ground shakes. When you finally open your mouth, demons flee. Your voice carries authority that comes only from those who learn to hold their peace when holding it hurt. Proverbs 17:28 declares, "Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent." But you're no fool. You're a loaded weapon that learned restraint. The third mark: your scars have become crowns. Look at your life. Really look at it. Every rejection that should have destroyed you, every betrayal that should have made you bitter, every loss that should have broken your faith, every scar on your soul tells a story of survival against impossible odds. But here's the mystery that will blow your mind. Those scars aren't evidence of your suffering, they're evidence of your selection. In ancient times, when a king wanted to mark his most valuable soldiers, he didn't give them medals, he gave them scars. Battle scars that proved they had fought for something worth dying for. Your scars are royal markings, proving you've been in combat for the kingdom of heaven. Isaiah 61:3 promises to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes. Your scars aren't ashes anymore, they're crowns, invisible to the natural eye but blazing like fire to the spiritual realm. Chosen one, you thought you were wounded, but you were branded. The fog didn't end you. It marked you. It marked you. It marked you. Can you feel it? Can you sense the weight of what you carry? You're not just a survivor walking around with battle wounds. You're a commissioned officer in God's army, bearing the insignia of heaven itself. Every tear that became oil proves you can heal others. Every moment of silence that became fire proves you can speak with authority. Every scar that became a crown proves you can rule in the spirit realm. The world sees age. Heaven sees authority. The world sees scars. Heaven sees credentials. The world sees someone who's been through too much. Heaven sees someone who's been through enough to be trusted with more. But here's the urgency burning in my spirit right now. You can carry these marks and never activate them. You can bear the brand of the chosen and still live like you're ordinary. You can possess the oil, the fire, and the crown, and never pour them out. The marks are proof of your calling. But walking in that calling, that's your choice. If you know you carry these marks, if you feel the weight of oil in your tears, fire in your silence, and crowns in your scars, then declare it. Type in the comments right now, "I am marked." Because this mark is proof you belong to God's chosen army. But carrying the marks is just the beginning. The real question is, what will you do with the authority they represent? Because marked ones don't just survive, they transform everything they touch. Chosen one, I need you to stop right where you are and look at your hands. Really, look at them. See those lines, those scars, those marks that time and trials have left behind. The world told you those were signs of defeat. The enemy whispered they were evidence of your failure. But heaven has been writing a different story. What if I told you that everything, and I mean everything, that came against you wasn't meant to destroy you, but to deploy you? Listen to me carefully. The very fog that came to suffocate your dreams has become the breath of your prayer. The silence that came to bury your voice has become the trumpet of your destiny. The scars that came to shame you have become your crown of glory. You thought you were being broken down, but God was building you up. You thought you were being cast aside, but heaven was setting you apart. You thought your story was ending, but your real chapter was just beginning. What came to break you, built you. What came to kill you, crowned you. What came to silence you, sent you. Think about Joseph for a moment. Thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison for years. Every single attack looked like the end of his story. But Genesis 50-20 reveals the mystery. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The pit wasn't his grave, it was his training ground. The prison wasn't his punishment, it was his preparation. The betrayal wasn't his destruction, it was his deployment into destiny. What came to break him, built him. What came to kill him, crowned him. What came to silence him, sent him. And you, dear chosen one, you've been walking the same path. Every sleepless night when anxiety gripped your chest and you couldn't breathe, that wasn't punishment. That was God teaching you to depend on His breath. Every betrayal that left you gasping for air, that wasn't abandonment. That was heaven showing you that human loyalty is temporary, but divine love is eternal. Every financial collapse that brought you to your knees wasn't evidence that God had forsaken you. It was proof that He was positioning you to understand what true provision looks like when it comes from heaven's treasury, not earth's economy. What came to break you, built you. What came to kill you, crowned you. What came to silence you, sent you. But here's where it gets supernatural. Here's where the reversal becomes undeniable. That depression that tried to drown you in darkness, God has transformed it into a lighthouse that will guide others out of their midnight hour. That addiction that nearly destroyed your family, heaven has alchemized it into a testimony that will break generational chains in bloodlines you'll never even meet. That divorce that shattered your heart into a million pieces, the Almighty has taken every fragment and created a mosaic of mercy that will help other broken hearts believe in love again. This is the great reversal. This is the divine alchemy. This is God's supernatural mathematics, where your greatest minus becomes your multiplication, where your deepest wound becomes your widest ministry, where your hardest trial becomes your highest triumph. David understood this mystery when he wrote in Psalm 23:5, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Not after the enemies leave, not when the coast is clear. In the presence of, right in front of those who said you'd never make it, never recover, never rise again. The very people who wrote your obituary are about to witness your resurrection. What came to break you, built you. What came to kill you, crowned you. What came to silence you, sent you. I'm talking to the grandmother who raised children in poverty but taught them how to pray with power. Your lack wasn't limitation, it was training for multiplication. I'm speaking to the grandfather who lost everything in the market crash but never lost faith in the Father. Your financial ruin wasn't your disqualification, it was your preparation for divine provision. I'm calling out to every senior citizen who's been told to step aside, sit down, and fade quietly into the background. Hell lied to you. Your gray hair isn't evidence of decline, it's a crown of wisdom. Your wrinkles aren't marks of deterioration, they're battle scars, proving you survived what would have destroyed weaker souls. The emergency that's coming isn't meant to eliminate you, it's meant to elevate you. While the spiritually blind stumble in confusion, you'll walk with supernatural clarity. While others panic in the chaos, you'll move with divine purpose. While the world asks, "What's happening?" you'll declare, "I know what's happening. And I know who's in control." What came to break you, built you. What came to kill you, crowned you. What came to silence you, sent you. Chosen one, you did not just survive the fog, you conquered it. You didn't just endure the emergency, you emerged as the answer. You didn't just weather the storm, you became the calm in someone else's hurricane. And now, right now, the world must hear your voice. Not because you're perfect, but because you're proven. Not because you never fell, but because you always got back up. Not because you avoided the fire, but because you came through it refined as gold. The reversal is complete. The transformation is finished. The deployment has begun. If you feel the reversal stirring in your bones, if you sense the great turnaround taking place in your spirit, declare it out loud right now. What was meant for evil, God turned for good. But this reversal, this supernatural turnaround, it's not just for your personal victory, it's preparation for your public ministry. And what God is about to reveal next will show you exactly how to step into the authority that your pain has purchased. Chosen one, we've journeyed together through the mystery of this unusual emergency. You felt the stirring in your spirit. You've recognized the signs. You've heard the whisper of heaven calling your name through the static of ordinary life. But hear me clearly, this window is short. The unusual emergency has not passed. It has only shifted. Like a storm that changes direction but never loses its power, the spiritual forces we've discussed are moving, positioning, preparing for what's coming next. And you, dear one, you cannot afford to go back to sleep. Stay alert when you wake up tomorrow morning, when that first cup of coffee hits your lips and the world tries to convince you this was just another video. Stay alert when you lay your head on that pillow tonight, when the enemy whispers that you imagined the fire burning in your chest. Stay alert when you speak to your children, your neighbors, your pastor. Stay alert when you are silent, when you're sitting in that doctor's waiting room, when you're standing in line at the grocery store. Because the emergency isn't coming, beloved. It's here. It's been here. And most people are walking around spiritually unconscious, while you've been given eyes to see. Do you remember Ezekiel 3:17? Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the people of Israel. God didn't choose Ezekiel because he was perfect. He chose him because he was willing to stay awake when everyone else was asleep. That's you right now. You're not just watching this video, you're accepting the assignment of a watchman. But let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. You think you've been struggling all these years because life is hard. You think you've been battling depression, loneliness, financial pressure, health scares, because that's just what happens when you get older. You've been under attack because you carry something the enemy fears. You've been targeted because your awakening threatens his kingdom. Every sleepless night, every unexplained anxiety, every moment you felt like you were going crazy, it was spiritual warfare against a soul that refused to stay asleep. Think about it. Why you? Why are you the one watching this message while your friends are binge-watching Netflix? Why are you the one who feels the weight of eternity pressing on your chest while others worry about their 401 Kelvin? Why are you the one whose spirit burns when you hear God's word while others yawn through Sunday service? Because you are not a candle flickering in the wind, trying desperately not to be blown out. You are a lighthouse. And lighthouses, chosen one, lighthouses were made for storms. They don't hide when the weather gets rough, they shine brighter. They don't retreat when the waves crash, they stand firmer. They don't apologize for their light, they blast it across the darkness so lost ships can find their way home. That's what you are, that's what you've always been. That foggy confusion you felt, that spiritual emergency we've been discussing, it wasn't coming to destroy you, it was coming to reveal you. And right now, as I speak these words, as your spirit recognizes truth like a tuning fork recognizing its perfect note, heaven is declaring something over your life that will change everything. Chosen one, the fog did not find you by accident. And this message did not find you by accident. Heaven has declared, it's your time. Your time to stop apologizing for being different. Your time to stop hiding the fire that burns in your bones. Your time to stop letting the world convince you that your sensitivity is weakness when God calls it your superpower. Your time to stop believing the lie that your best days are behind you when the Almighty is saying your assignment is just beginning. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. This moment, this very moment, is a divine appointment. Not the video, not the message. This moment when you have a choice, when you can either close this screen and go back to normal, or you can say yes to the calling that's been hunting you down your entire life. Because I need you to understand something that might terrify you. If you walk away from this moment, if you choose comfort over calling, if you let fear convince you that you're too old, too tired, too ordinary to be used by God in extraordinary ways. You might never get another opportunity like this. The fog is real. The emergency is real. The spiritual warfare is real, but so is your authority. So is your anointing. So is your assignment to be the light that guides others home. 1 Peter 2-9 declares, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." Chosen people, royal priesthood, God's special possession. That's not pretty poetry, that's your identity, that's your DNA. That's why the emergency found you instead of passing you by. If this word burned in you tonight, if something deep inside your spirit just caught fire, if you feel the weight of destiny settling on your shoulders like a mantle you never knew you were supposed to wear, I need you to do something right now. Type your name below. Yes, your name. Not chosen one, not believer. Your actual name. Because today heaven is rewriting your story, and stories need names, stories need heroes, stories need someone brave enough to step into the light when everyone else chooses the shadows. And as you type that name, as you make that declaration, as you say yes to what God has been preparing you for your entire life, receive this benediction. May your silence be your shield when the world tries to make you speak carelessly. May your scars be your crowns, evidence of battles fought and victories won. May your prayers be your breath, as natural and necessary as the air that fills your lungs. And may your life be the prophecy your family has been waiting for, the breakthrough your bloodline has been praying for, the miracle your generation has been believing for. The fog is near, chosen one, closer than you think. But the dawn is closer, and you were born for both. Welcome to your awakening. Welcome to your assignment. Welcome to your destiny. The emergency is here. But so are you, beloved chosen one. As we come to the end of this sacred encounter, I need you to carry these eternal truths with you like precious gems in your heart. Remember this. The unusual emergency we've discussed isn't something to fear, it's something to prepare for. You are not a victim of spiritual warfare, you are a warrior in it. The fog that targets the awakened, the attacks against those who carry light, the restlessness in your spirit, none of this is punishment. It's confirmation that you carry something precious, something the enemy desperately wants to extinguish but cannot touch. Remember that your age is not your limitation, it's your qualification. Every gray hair represents wisdom earned through fire. Every wrinkle tells a story of endurance. Every scar bears witness to battles you've won simply by surviving. Moses was 80 when God called him to his greatest assignment. Your season isn't ending, it's culminating. Remember that your sensitivity isn't weakness, it's your spiritual radar. The fact that you feel things others don't, see things others miss, carry burdens others can't comprehend, that's not a curse. That's your calling card. You are the lighthouse in the storm, and lighthouses don't apologize for their light. But hear me clearly. You are not walking this path alone. Even when the fog rolls in, even when the emergency intensifies, even when you feel like the only one awake in a sleeping world, you are never alone. The God who created the stars still knows your name. The same hands that parted the Red Sea are still working in your life right now, in this very moment. Romans 8:28 isn't just a pretty verse, it's your promise. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. You have a community here too, right here in these comments, in this digital sanctuary we've created together. Thousands of chosen ones just like you, carrying the same calling, feeling the same fire, walking the same narrow road that leads to purpose. We see you, we understand you, we stand with you. You are part of something bigger than yourself, a remnant that refuses to sleep while the world slumbers. So let me ask you this final question, and let it settle deep in your spirit. Now that you know who you really are, now that you understand what's coming, Now that you've felt the weight of destiny on your shoulders, what will you do with this truth? Will you go back to playing small, or will you rise up and take your place as the watchman God has called you to be? Before I release you into your assignment, I want to pray over you. Right now, wherever you are, whether you're sitting in your living room, lying in your hospital bed, or driving down a lonely highway, I want you to know that I'm placing my hand on your shoulder through these words, and I'm calling heaven's attention to your life. Almighty God, Father of lights, the Ancient of Days, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you see them. You know their names, their struggles, their secret tears, their hidden dreams. You know the battles they've fought in silence and the victories they've won that nobody celebrated. Father, I pray for divine protection over their lives. As the unusual emergency unfolds, as spiritual warfare intensifies, as the fog of confusion tries to cloud their vision, be their shield, be their fortress, be their strong tower. Let no weapon formed against them prosper. Cover them with your feathers, and under your wings let them find refuge. Lord, breathe fresh life into their weary bones. Where they've been hurt, bring healing. Where they've been broken, bring restoration. Where they've been forgotten by people, remind them that they're remembered by you. Give them strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. I pray for their families, their health, their finances, their peace. Open doors that no man can shut. Bring divine connections into their lives. Surround them with people who will recognize their calling and help them walk in it. Remove toxic relationships and negative influences. Place a hedge of protection around their homes, their loved ones, their purpose. Most of all, Father, let them feel your presence right now. Let them know in their spirit that this isn't just another video they stumbled across. This was a divine appointment. Let them feel your smile, your approval, your deep love for who they are and who they're becoming. Fill them with boldness to walk in their calling. Give them wisdom for every decision. Grant them discernment to recognize your voice above all the noise. And Lord, use their lives as testimonies of your faithfulness, as lighthouses guiding others home. In the mighty name of Jesus, who conquered death and hell to secure our victory, I seal this prayer. Let your will be done in their lives. Your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Amen and amen. Now, chosen one, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart tonight. Share what shifted in your spirit. Ask us to pray for specific areas of your life. This community will surround you with intercession. Don't hold back. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And please, if this message touched your soul, share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone in their calling. There's someone in your life right now who's been feeling that same restlessness, that same spiritual hunger. They need to hear this word. They need to know they're chosen too. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell.